Hello, it is time for Chapter 12 summary and discussion of To Kill a Mockingbird. So, first, I want to start off by saying that Jim is now 12 years old and he wants Scout to leave him alone. Scout's sad and she can't wait for Dill to come. But Scout says that Jim's just been difficult to live with. And part of this is, in fact, that he's going through so many changes and he's growing up, and Scout's not seeing that. And she's not at that age yet where she's having to grow up. In fact, I have to live with a 33-year-old man, and he's kind of difficult to live with too. So maybe it's just a man thing. I don't know. I'm sorry. I just went off on a rant there. But, anyways, unfortunately, Dill doesn't come that summer. He sends a letter to say that he has to stay in Meridian with his new father, who we assume his mom married, but it's all just kind of, not very exact and precise. And so we know that Dill is a pocket Merlin, and we know that Dill is good at, coming up with all these ideas and these schemes. So we kind of question, why Dill has included all of this elaborate information about his father and why he can't come. And so it makes you not trust Dill a little bit. So then after this happens, Atticus travels to the state capitol to a great deal for work for the Tom Robinson trial, which we will get ready to read starting around chapter 20, 21. And Calpurnia takes the children to her church. Now, this is what, I like this chapter in the sense that the children, they have cultural shock. So they have never experienced going into a black church. It's very different than going into a white church. And so, for example, I went to church with my husband and his grandmother. His grandmother goes to a very old-fashioned church. The preacher, he yells a lot. The old ladies, they keep Afghans that they've sewn on their benches, and they keep bags of candy on their benches because everybody sits in the same place every Sunday. And all of this was just culture shock to me when I went and visited his grandmother's church. And so Jim and Scout, they don't know what to expect when they walk into Calpurnia's church. And so her church is called the First Purchase because it was bought with the earnings of the first freed slaves. But it's very ironic because when it's not a church on Sunday, this is where men gamble, and we know that gambling is a sin. So we're having a very holy ceremony occur in a place where men are gambling and sinning, which also goes back to the whole idea of hypocrisy that we've talked about with this novel. It's people not doing the right thing. They're not backing up what they're saying, or they're acting one way and doing something in another way. And so it's just really this sickening idea, and it makes you go back to think about the Old South versus New South too. And so these men, they're not willing to change their ways. But as Calpurnia, she takes the children to her church. One woman criticizes Calpurnia for bringing white children, but mostly everyone else is friendly to Scout and Jim. And so during the service, the people give money for Tom's wife as she's unable to work with the accusations that are against her husband, Tom. And so they collect an offering. And the preacher does something that's very nerve-wracking. He calls it sweating it out. So everybody has to give some kind of offering for Helen Robinson and Tom, and he shuts the doors to the church and says everybody has to give, and he calls it sweating it out, which makes everybody nervous. That's why you call it sweating it out. But Scout learns that Tom Robinson was accused by Bob Ewell. She can't understand why anyone would believe in Ewell's word. So here, we're going back to visiting Ewell. When was the last time we really discussed an Ewell? That was going to be Burris Ewell, remember, at school. And he called Miss Caroline, excuse me, he called Miss Caroline some really ugly names. And he left because, he only goes to school on the first day. And if he's, ugly in his verbiage towards an adult female, his father is probably going to be the one he's learning it from, because we remember he doesn't have a mother. His father is never around. People in the town allow him to hunt out of season because he is an alcoholic, okay? And the children starve. So Bob Ewell is not a good man. And Bob is accusing Tom Robinson, this black man, of raping his daughter, Mayella. That's the gist of where we're going here. And so Scout's very concerned. So you've got a black man word versus the lowest scumbag man's word in town, but he just so happens to be white. And so everybody's believing Bob Ewell over Tom just because Bob is white. How messed up is that? And so when the children get home from Calpurnia's church, who is waiting there? Aunt Alexandra. And we know what Aunt Alexandra thinks about Tom Robinson in his case and Atticus defending Tom because we heard it from Francis. That's where Francis got all of his information, was from Aunt Alexandra. And so Aunt Alexandra is there to take care of the children while Atticus is gone. And oh boy, Scout and Aunt Alexandra aren't going to get along very well. If you have any questions, let me know and drop them in the comments.